United States, the average working woman makes approximately 80 cents on every dollar made by a working man. Over the course of her career, a woman could lose up to $590,000. There are over 75 million women in the workplace, and many of these women are affected by the wage gap and workplace inequality. This major issue that affects so many people needs to be discussed more, especially in politics. The overall gender wage gap is the average difference in salary between all working men and women, and it has been found that women make around 80% of what men make.
For mothers, it's 71 cents. For single mothers, it's 58 cents. The kinds of wage policies that we need for women and for men really haven't kept up.
So what's important here is for us to analyze this question from the perspective of, if we take someone who's equivalently qualified, then is there disparity?
More than a third of the gender wage gap is unexplained by factors such as occupation, industry, and work experience.
Despite the progress we have made, inability to address the causes of the problem have made it difficult to find effective solutions. Motherhood and difficulties with childcare serve as one of the many factors of the pay gap.
But there's still things that are keeping women back. We've got the gender pay gap. We have all of these burdens of care that often layer upon women.
Women are often forced out of the labor force during their childbearing years and then have a hard time re-entering.
If you are out of the workforce for some years to take care of children, that tends to impact your income when you go back into the workforce.
Even without considering childcare, the pay difference can increase over time or in jobs that require higher levels of educational qualifications.
You're almost starting off at a disadvantage, and that disadvantage only accelerates with time. And what is interesting is that the more educated you are, then that disparity is even larger.
While this problem affects over 1 million women who make up 47% of the workforce, most politicians have neglected to discuss this issue or look for solutions. With the exception of Senator Elizabeth Warren, the field of Democratic candidates have avoided discussing or lack solutions to the wage gap. Candidates running for the Republican nomination, such as President Donald Trump or Representative Joe Walsh, have also not commented on the issue.
I don't think it'll be talked about enough until there is 100% equity.
Wage inequality can be found in all professions, and Lauren Hasten, founder of Developer, and a full-time software engineer in the Bay Area, has also experienced a lack of equal pay in the workforce.
A male colleague who several years junior than me pulled me aside and he complained to me about how much he was making. Not only was he making exactly what I was making at that time, but he had been hired at 50% more than what I had been hired.
In response, she created Developer, an organization that empowers women to take control of their careers and negotiate their salaries.
I don't believe women can just sit back and wait for, politicians to fix this. It starts with women saying, hey, I need change right now.
Vicki Wilkins, Dean of the School of Public Affairs at American University, has had similar experiences.
Many times women do not negotiate their salaries. They are more likely, I believe, to accept a salary that's offered. In my own experience, men are more likely to push for higher salaries.
However, other organizations feel that the strategy is not the most effective. Nicole Smith brings up the stigma surrounding female self-advocacy.
In some ways, being bold and being daring and being demanding can turn off a lot of people.
This is partly due to the double bind, which is when women are perceived as nice, warm, and nurturing until they move into a leadership position, where they are then seen as too angry, aggressive, or unfeminine.
If you're thinking of solving the wage gap, we really need to think about legislation.
Smith, along with many other experts, proposes a solution that prioritizes legislation but supports other endeavors on the part of individual women or organizations.
I think we have to use all the levers at our disposal.
Because there's so many factors driving the gender wage gap, there's no one easy policy solution to close it.
So what our research recently found is that this is both a structural problem, but we've also seen that it's a cultural problem.
Fully addressing the policies and the systems that perpetuate the gender wage gap is going to require expanding access to childcare and paid family leave.
This can be done through the Family Act, sponsored by Representative Rosa DeLauro and Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, which will help to address the wage gap by creating a national program that would make paid leave affordable for employers of all sizes and for workers and their families. However, this can't be the only solution.
It's not just women with children that face a wage gap, so doing it through childcare means that women who have chosen not to have children won't see the impacts of it.
Other legislation takes more direct action in addressing the wage gap, such as the Paycheck Fairness Act,
which would strengthen federal enforcement tools, protect workers from retaliation for sharing their salary information with their coworkers, and limit the use of salary history in the application process.
So we have to make it known and understood that paying people differently by virtue of their race, their ethnicity, their religion, or whatever other markers you observe is unacceptable and illegal.
I think that the American public needs to be educated about how policies and systems are driving this problem more than individual choices or even individual acts of discrimination.
It is essential that in the upcoming debates and when the presidential nominees have been declared, that presidential candidates focus on the wage gap and come up with plans to address this problem that affects millions of women all across the United States on a daily basis.